Hi, we have Daisy Comes Home by Jan Brett. Look over the garden wall and you will see 6 happiest hens in China. They live in Mei's sandy guard by the Lai River, where they lay brown eggs every day for Mei to sell at the market. But it was not always this way. Once upon a time, the smallest hen, the one Mei calls Daisy, was picked on by the others. This is hard to imagine because Mei was known far and wide for her happy hens. She gave them treats, she put fresh hay in their nest, she gave them baths when they fell in black mud, and when she called goo 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 goo, all the hens would run to her as fast as their legs could carry them. Even Mei's egg baskets were painted with big red characters that read "Happy Hens," and she tried to make it so. Every night when it was time to roost in the hen house, the other hens picked on Daisy. They fluffed up their feathers and crowded her off the perch. They jostled her until Peck, one of them, pushed her, and she fell off onto the floor. Then the hens tucked their heads into their feathers and went to sleep, while poor little Daisy was stuck below on the damp mud floor, shivering and cold until morning. One day it rained all day, and the hens stayed inside. When it got dark, they flew up to their perch, except for Daisy. She had caught enough of the pushy hens and cold, damp floor. She went outside to find a place to spend the night. Down on the riverbank, she spied one of the market baskets, and she snuggled in and fluffed up her feathers to stay warm. Daisy was sleeping and didn't see the river creeping up the bank in all the rain, and when the water reached her happy hen's basket, she didn't feel it float out onto the river. But when the basket started tipping and bobbing, Daisy woke up. She peeked out and saw a watery world all around her. The sandy yard, the garden wall, and Mei's farmhouse looked smaller and smaller as the current carried her down the river. Finally, the basket bumped against the stone jetty where the houseboat was tied up. Scratch, scratch, scraped the basket as the river waves pushed up against the sharp rocks. A dog was sitting up on the deck of the houseboat. When he saw the plump hen bobbing in the basket, he barked and scrambled toward her. Daisy squawked and pecked and beat the air with her wings. It was enough to tip the basket off the rocks, and she floated away just in time. Dawn broke over the Kui Mountains as the basket drifted along the river. Branches brushed up against it. Fish swam silently by, and the birds flew overhead, and suddenly Daisy felt a thump. Daisy looked up and saw 2 big horns and a pair of surprised eyes looking down at her. The basket had drifted into the legs of a great big water buffalo taking a morning drink. The buffalo snorting loudly, scaring Daisy. She flew forward and nipped his furry muzzle and flapped her wings. Daisy scared the water buffalo. He turned and galloped up the bank, scattering the dust as he ran. His splashes made the waves that carried the basket back into the middle of the river. Daisy traveled all day until the basket was hooked by the roots of a banyan tree where a troop of red-tailed monkeys had lived. The curious monkeys eyed Daisy and climbed down for a closer look. Daisy froze as one monkey crept up to the basket and reached in. Daisy flapped and pecked and nipped and squawked. The startled monkeys pushed the basket away, and it broke loose from the tree and floated on down the river. Daisy wondered what would happen next. Up ahead, Daisy saw a fisherman with cormorants diving all around the bamboo boat. They were catching fish and taking them to him for a reward. The fisherman felt a soft bump against him. Thinking it was a cormorant, he reached down and grabbed it. How surprised he was to see that it was a hen instead of a cormorant. "Finders keepers," he exclaimed. "Little fish, big fish, silver fish, white fish. That's what I sell at the market. But today I will have a tender young chicken." He put a net over the basket and headed to shore with poor Daisy inside. At home, Mei had looked all day and night for her little Daisy, and she wasn't in the hen house. She wasn't behind the farmhouse. She couldn't fly over the wall. Where is she? Mei wondered, worried all the time what had happened to Daisy, and suddenly she knew she had to go to market. With a sad feeling, she packed her eggs in the basket and started on her way. As the basket swung back and forth, the red characters on the side of her baskets made Mei feel sadder and sadder. "Happy hen," she said aloud to herself, "but what about my Daisy? Where can she be?" At the market, Mamie found a place and arranged the eggs in sweet-smelling straw. All morning, shoppers brought their big brown eggs, but they couldn't stop thinking about the little lost hen. Mamie heard a voice calling to her. It was her friend Zhang yelling from the back of a bike cart. "A fisherman has a happy hens basket," he shouted. "What?" she called, not understanding what he was saying. "A happy hens basket," he repeated. "You better hurry because he's showing off what's inside." "Daisy," Mamie shouted. Mamie raced to where the fish were sold. There was Daisy, beautiful and plump in her basket, surrounded by a crowd, all wanting to buy her. "That's my hen," she told the fisherman. His face was like stone. She pointed to the red characters on the basket. "Happy hens," she said. The fisherman crossed his arms. "Finders, keepers," he growled and turned away to sell Daisy. Mamie was about to leave. Her eyes rested on those characters. Happy hens. All she could think about was Daisy in a cooking pot. She squeezed her eyes shut, clenched her fist. She had to do something. "Goo, goo, 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 goo," she called at the top of her voice, and when Daisy heard that call, she answered it all the way she had every day of her life. She rose up and threw herself against the basket, tipping it over, and she ran toward her friend Mamie as fast as her legs would go. Daisy flew into Mamie's shoulders, and off they went, running back to Mamie's basket to go home. The fisherman ran after them furious. "Stop," he yelled at Mamie. "That's my hen." "Finders, keepers," Mamie called her over her shoulder. And with Daisy clinging to her, she ran and didn't stop until they were safely home. That night, as the sun went down, Daisy took a place on the roost. When one of the big hens fluffed up her wings and spread out, expecting Daisy to fall off the perch like always, Daisy flapped her wings. "I learned that from a boat dog," she clucked. Another hen tried to tip her off. She pushed right back. "I scared a water buffalo like that," she squawked, and another hen jostled her. Peck, 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 peck. Daisy kept her place on the perch and beat the air with her wings, and remembered the monkey she pecked and flapped all over again, and that was when the hens gave Daisy a place of her own. The lap, lap, lap of the river made a peaceful nighttime song. No bumping, no jostling, no fussing about. Just 6 happy hens, their heads tucked in their feathers, high and warm and safe, together. Now, we as Christians do not say finders, keepers. That would not be the Christian way to do it. If we know that something belongs to somebody, we would want to return it. That is what Jesus would want us to do. But I hope you enjoyed the story. Jan Brett, Daisy Comes Home. Have a good day.